is up, my friends? So this is the fourth and final episode of my Watch Me Practice Redesign series. So if you missed the first three, in episode 1, we went through and planned out this project. In episode 2, I went in and jumped into Sketch and we actually created the design. In episode 3, in the last one, I went through and started building the site and Webflow. And in this episode, we're going to do the remaining stuff, which is we got to build the subscribe modal, add some interactions, make it all responsive, and do any necessary cleanup. So let's just jump right in and get started. So this is where we left off. We have all the pages for the most part built out. If we go to the live streams page, it will list out all of the various live streams. And then the individual live stream page, it shows the video, the content, and then subscribe modal and the recent live streams in the second column. So if we go back to our design, what we need to do is actually set up this subscribe modal. And I want to add some interactions to make it appear as if it like bounces down, and then when you close it, it will like bounce down a little bit and then hop back up. So what we want is when you click the subscribe link, that modal to pop down. So let's go ahead and start building it. So let's grab a div and drag it out. I'm going to call this one modal wrapper. And let's see, I want to make that one, let's give some padding on top. I'm going to say like 5% on top. I do want this to be fixed, and then I want it to be 100% of the height and 100% of the width. And actually, I may need to tweak the body because it's pushing it down a little bit. Or maybe I could just do -5% on the top. There we go, that works. So that counteracts the padding that we have on the body. So from here, let's go and add a background. Let's pick that dark color. But I want it to be a bit lighter, so maybe let's drop the opacity down to like 90%. And also, since it's fixed, I want it to be above everything else, so let's add a z-index of like 99999. That way it's just over all the content at all times. Cool, and then since it's slightly transparent, you can still see some of the stuff behind it, but not everything. All right, and then inside of here, let's actually make that wrap, or the modal itself. So remember, we have this highlight color purple with subscribe, and then live streams, blah, 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 and then the upcoming live streams. So let's go ahead and add a div, and I'll just call this one modal. So let's first start out and add some padding, maybe like 50 pixels. I'm just holding shift, so it's 50 pixels on every side. Let's make it centered, and then add some width. Margin auto on either side, so that way when we do add a width, it's centered in between. So let's add a width of like 650 pixels, and also a max width of, let's say, 90%. Cool. And we'll add a background of that highlight color. Cool, cool. At a border radius of say like 4, and then let's also add that drop shadow that we had before. So we'll do 180 degrees, 25% on the opacity, and we'll just use the black color, and we'll do 9 and 18 to match the other ones. Perfect. That looks pretty good to me. All right, cool. And then let's add some content to this. Let's add a heading. Maybe make the heading in H1, and we'll say subscribe. And this is actually a bit too light. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a class of this title and say subscribe title. Whoops, I'm not sure why it says subscribe. It should be schedule. There we go. And I'll change this to schedule title. There we go, better. Cool, and what I want to do is change it from that lavender color to a white color. That way there's a bit more contrast to it. And then let's also add a paragraph, just drop it underneath that. Whoops, there we go. And let's add a class to this and just say dark, just because I don't want it to be that copy color, I want it to be that main color. And let's go back to the actual design and just copy this. Perfect. And then let's jump in here and actually bold the different times. Perfect. All right, and then let's just add some more text. Let's see. Let's do just a text block, that's fine, and we'll call this subhead. And let's make this the lighter gray, main lighter color. Let's make the font size like maybe 18. And let's bump up the line height a bit to maybe 30. And let's make it 700, perfect. And we'll just go in here and say upcoming live streams. So if we go back to our designs, we next have each of these little rows. So the rows have the date, the time, and then a border on the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and drag out a div. And I'm gonna call this one row. And then I'm gonna make this flex box under the display settings. And let's do space between, that way the objects get, or that way the date and the time get pushed to the edges. And then also, let's center it as well. Cool. So let's drag in a paragraph. And for this, I'm just going to say the next one, let's just grab the dates from here. Wednesday, March 29th. Let's add a class to that, say upcoming date. And then I'm gonna copy Command-C, Command-V, and then the other one gets pushed to the other side because of Flexbox. Cool, and then 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'll just write that out. 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Whoops, oh, I guess I should actually write it out. Mountain Standard Time, there we go. Cool, so now let's go ahead and style these. I want the copy to be a bit bolder, so maybe let's make it white to match. The font size is a little bit big, so let's drop it down to maybe like 15, and let's make it bold as well. So we need to add a border on the bottom. So one way to do this is, let's add the border. Let's go here, grab that color. Text code, let's see, hex code DFBFED. All right, so let's add the border, 1 pixel. Whoops, I'm sorry. Let's remove that. I need to add it to the row instead. All right, border bottom, solid, 1 pixel, and then that color. Cool. So what I need to do is tweak. First off, let's grab the upcoming date. Let's remove the padding or the margin bottom, say 0. And then for the row, let's add, let's say 10 pixels on the padding bottom and then 10 pixels on the margin bottom. That way there's 10 pixels on top and bottom of the border, because padding is on the inside and then the border and then the margin is on the outside. Cool, for this subhead, let's just add some spacing, maybe like 15 pixels. Awesome. And then I'm just gonna grab that row and copy and paste it a few times. So let's go just change the dates. And this will be 10 a.m. And then this one would be Saturday as well, and 10 a.m. I'm not sure the time or the exact dates off the top of my head, and it's not that big of a deal at the moment, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Cool, I think that's all there is to it. One thing I'm noticing is this little modal wrapper isn't going all the way up, so maybe let's go like 5.5%. 5.1%, is that? There we go, that looks good. All right, so the modal wrapper needs to have a negative margin of negative 5.2%. That way it covers up that border as well. Cool, so from here we can go ahead and start adding some interactions. All right, so the first thing I want to do is let's click on the modal and let's go over to the interactions. Let's add a new one, and I'm just gonna call this one modal. So for the initial appearance, what I want to do is transform and move it up on the Y, and let's do 150%. Or I'm sorry, negative 150%. That way it moves up and out of the frame. And then I'm just gonna hit done. Cool, cool. And then I'm gonna grab this modal wrapper and let's add an initial state for that as well. And I'll say modal wrapper, whoops, modal wrapper, perfect. And then this one, we're gonna do, it's gonna be opacity of 0 and display of none. Perfect. So if we go and check it, now when you view the page, you won't see it because it's display none and the other one is pushed up and out. So let's go ahead and add the interaction for the drop down. So this is going to be a click event. So what we want to do is add an interaction and we'll say schedule click, because when you click the schedule link in the header, it would show all this. The initial appearance, we're gonna leave none, and then for the triggers, we're gonna do a few things. All right, so the first one is gonna be a click event, and we're gonna click affect different elements, and then we're gonna search for the modal wrapper. All right, so we're gonna apply this to the link in the header, but it's going to affect the modal wrapper. All right, so for the initial first click, let's go ahead. The first thing we want to do is change it from display none to display block. So I'm just gonna click on the display block, click done, and then I'm gonna add another one, and let's change the opacity from 0 to 100%. Cool, and then that is all we need to do for that. And then we also need to add another trigger to the modal. So let's do a click one. This one's going to affect the modal itself. All right, so this one's gonna have a few different steps. So first off, let's change the opacity, let's change the opacity to 100%, like so. Let's add another step. All right, so the first thing we wanna do, let's add the plus and let's transform it. So we want it to appear as if it's like bouncing down. So let's move it down 20 pixels. So we're gonna do 20 on the Y and then click done. Let's add another one. Do the same thing. Let's move it back up. Let's say 10 pixels. I'm just going to type it in, -10. And then let's click done. And then let's add one more. And then we're just going to move it back down 5. So we're going to move it down 5 pixels. So let's preview that. There we go. So it just looks like it's a little like bouncing a little bit. All right, cool. So I think we're good to go. So let's just click done and get out of that. Let's go into the layers panel, click on the modal wrapper, and I'm just going to set this to display of none. That way we can see everything else. Then let's click into the header, let's click on the schedule link, and let's go back into the interactions and add that schedule link interaction. And I believe that should be all we need to do. So if we click schedule, there we go. So it slides down and bounces a little bit. Perfect. Cool, that's looking good. So let's go back to the modal wrapper. Let's make it display a block again, just so we can see it. All right, so what we need to do next is make it so when you click anywhere outside of the modal, it closes. So let's go ahead and drag out another div inside the modal wrapper. I'm gonna call this close modal. And then for this, let's make it 100% width and 100% height. And also let's make it fixed. And also let's add that negative margin as well. So -5.2%. There we go. So let's go over into the interactions and create a new one. So we'll call this close modal interaction. So the initial appearance, we're going to do none. The trigger is going to be a click for the first one. This one is going to affect the modal. And then for the first click, what we want to do is basically move back up, move back down, and then slide it all the way up. So let's add one. Let's say move up 5 pixels. So it'd be -5 on the Y. Click OK. Let's click done and then click another one. Let's move it back. Let's see. Let's move it down 20 pixels. and then click done. And then for this one, we're going to move it back up -150%. That way so it goes up a little bit, down a little bit, and then slides all the way up. And then the last thing we need to do is drop the opacity to 0% and click done. All right, so we'll want another trigger. This one's going to be a click as well. This one is going to affect the modal wrapper. So what we want to do here is go down to this little time box and we'll say 650 milliseconds. So we want it to wait until the modal has actually popped out before it fades out. All right, so we want it to wait 650 milliseconds. Then let's, whoops, not transform. Let's change the opacity to 0. And then finish it off, we'll just say display of none. All right, so that should be all we need to do. Let's go into the layers panel and make it display of none, just so we can see what's going on. And let's toggle the preview. So it bounces down, but when we click, nothing happens. All right, so let's go back, click on the modal wrapper. Let's make it display a block. You know, I feel like this is wrong. So let's remove this negative top margin. We'll keep the top padding. So let's go down to the position. So it's fixed. Let's make it fixed to the top and also to the bottom. So 0 on all sides. Perfect. And then let's go into layers panel, the close modal. Let's do the same, remove the top one. Width and height is good, and let's make it 0 on all of these. That way it's full width and height. Cool. And I think the modal needs to be above that. And then click on the close wrapper. Let's see if that affects it. Whoops. Let's go to the modal wrapper. So the initial appearance, oh, that's why. So the modal wrapper needs that modal wrapper initial appearance. So let's preview. There we go. So let's click schedule. So it bounces down. Perfect. So everything's working now. But if we click it again, nothing happens. All right, so let's see what's going on. Let's click on the modal wrapper and just do display none for now. Let's click in here on that header nav link. So it has the schedule click. You know what it might be is the close modal. Let's go into the modal wrapper. I think we need to display of none on the last step. So let's see if that affects it. So let's preview, click schedule. So it drops down, bounces, goes back up. There we go. Okay, so it needed to go to display none. That way it can be display block again. Perfect. So everything's working as it should. Ah, I love it. Cool, so let's fix the last things we need to do. So the remaining stuff is mainly just the responsive stuff, and then we should be good. So let's make sure that modal wrapper is display of none. Let's actually go display block. Let's create a symbol for this, and I'll just say schedule modal. Perfect. And then I'm going to double click in here, select the, let's go into the layers panel, select the modal wrapper, and then just do display of none. That way we can see what we're working with. Cool. Let's go ahead and start making it responsive. All right, so the first thing I want to do, let's go over to the tablet and let's play around with this header. Let's click on the next live stream. So for this, I'm just going to do display of none. And then let's make sure everything is centered here as well. All right, so let's go to the nav. Let's click center that, like so. That looks pretty good to me. Cool, let's go to the main section. Click on that. Actually, click on one of the columns. And let's go to the tablet portrait. Let's click this first one so that they go full width. And let's tweak the settings. So we have a margin of 50% on on the left side. So let's go in there and just hit 0. And all the styles that we do are only being applied to the tablet screen size, which is pretty cool. All right, so first thing, let's go into the live streams. Let's see, so let's go to the column 2. Let's remove that padding on the left, like so. Let's click in here, let's go to the live stream. Let's make that a max width of, let's say, 550 pixels. Perfect. And then that number, let's go in to the file. Let's grab that live stream number. So let's change that from 95%. So let's say change that to auto, and let's go from the other side. So let's say 105%. Maybe a few more, 107. Perfect. Cool, cool. That looks good. So now it's being pushed from the other side instead. Sweet, that looks pretty good. Let's see this margin, or the header has a margin of 60 on top. Let's bump that down to maybe like 30. There we go, that looks better. And the body itself, let's select that. It has 70. Let's bring that down to maybe 35. Yeah, that looks better. Cool. Now let's select the mobile landscape. All right, so this is breaking right here. So what I'm gonna do for this, I think it's the numbers that's breaking it. So let's go in here, click on the live stream number, and let's just do display of none. There we go. Let's also bring in the thumbnail a bit. So let's bring it from -40. So maybe like -10 would be good. There we go. So now there's no horizontal scroll, which we do not want. Perfect. And then obviously we need to change it on mobile. All right, so let's go ahead and click in the live stream. Let's change this to display of block. Let's click on the thumbnail. Actually, let's go into the layers panel and see where this is at. Yeah, so let's click on the thumbnail. We need to bring that up to the very top. There we go. And let's click on it again. So we need to change the position from absolute to auto. And then we have a -50 margin on top, so let's do 0. That way it's within the live stream. And let's make the width 100%, like so. And also let's click on the live stream. Let's bump down the margin, maybe to like 20, better. All right, so now on the live stream thumbnail, let's add like 20 pixels on margin on the bottom. All right, and then click on the live stream. It only goes 70% width, so let's go 100%. And also let's drop down the font size a bit, maybe to like 14 and 20 on the line height. Yeah, that looks a bit better. And let's click on the heading 1. Let's drop that down to maybe like 35 and 55. And then the paragraph, let's drop all the paragraphs down a bit, maybe to like 16 and 25. Just tweaking the font size a bit. Cool. So the header's a bit messed up. First, let's select the body. So for some reason, there's 0 padding on top and bottom. So let's add like 30 to that. Let's double click in here. Double click on the subscribe link. Let's also say another class hide on mobile. And all they want to do is do display none. And then same on the learn design. So hide on mobile and display of none. All right, so with those hidden, it looks a little bit better. Cool, and let's tweak the footer as well. So let's grab the copyright. Let's make this one display of block, and let's remove the margin on the side like so. Perfect. And that's really all we need to do there. All right, so let's go to the next page, the live streams template page. So that's good on desktop. On mobile, let's click in this column, make the tablet go full width. And then the live streams work just like before. Let's make sure it works at all the various sizes. Beautiful. Cool, so that page is good. Now let's look at the all live streams page. So let's look at it on mobile. All right, so let's grab, let's click in here on the live stream, maybe the live stream wrapper. So it's a width of 45%. Let's go width of 100% and float none. And let's see, we have margin of 5%. Let's make that 0. Perfect. And that might be all we need to do. Perfect. Cool, so let's go ahead and look at what we've done. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish this to the subdomain. And then look at it on the actual site. So it's watchmepractice.webflow.io. So we have all the pages, we have this schedule modal, we have the live streams page, and then we have the actual live stream. Perfect. And then everything should scale down and be responsive, which it is. Cool. I'm loving this. Sweet, so this is looking awesome. It's all responsive. We've gone through the planning, the design, and we've actually built this site in Webflow, and everything's looking good. So yeah, this is the end of the series. I really hope you enjoyed this little series of going from design to actually building the site using Webflow. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up below. And yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.